All right, everyone, it's RemanX back here with a brand new video. This is going to be the video series showcasing the teams and the ISO selection and the thought process behind them. So we're going to start with the top of the food chain here. We're going to start with the Black Order and get right into our selection and why we chose certain of the abilities. So let's get to it. So let's start with the daddy of them all, Daddy Thanos. Thanos is probably... we're going to ignore his standard form. We're going to go into his empowered form because we base this on a basically an arena and war strategy. There are some scenarios where I believe I've heard that healers at level 5 on all these guys let them auto the entire set of U7. That doesn't surprise me with the large health pools. I just think that the ion cost for shifting them to make them a little more viable in other environments may not be there. I'd be curious if you guys have done that. Send me comments. Show me how they done on war defense, war offense. Hopefully you're using them on war offense. But, you know, you're free to play your characters how you like. So I'll give you guys a quick recommendation. So if you guys look, and Thanos currently is a Raider level 5. His abilities, so to meet the criteria, he targets multiple abilities. His abilities target multiple targets, so there's a bigger chance to crit. Or they have an attack that has a multi-tiered, multi-target damaging attack. Think Crystal, Thanos, or 2 of the prime targets on that. Even Shocker. So these characters are applying a Raider at a significantly higher rate than most of other teams. So the other thing about it is we're going to have a striker or 2 on the team. They're going to exploit that, and we're going to talk about some of the synergies with it. So we got Thanos. Let's bring up the rest of the Black Order so you guys get an idea. And there's a couple of considerations here, and you'll probably see that I have Ebony Maw as Skirmisher. Now, this was one that a lot of people often ask me. I said, why not Healer? Well, the thing about Ebony Maw is every one of his abilities interacts with the enemy team. And what that means is it does an enemy team check and either applies a buff or a debuff, or does actual damage, which means that he will apply vulnerable on every one of his turns, which is important as you want the team to take more damage or potentially trigger the striker. Moving on, again, there's other consideration to make for other modes. We're focusing singularly right now on War and Raid. Now, we did Striker on Corvus. Now, that is probably one that a lot of people are like, but why? He's got so much crit built into his kit. You're limiting what he does. I get it. I know. He seemed to be a Raider, and we were leaning towards that at launch until we discovered the interaction with Skirmisher. So realistically, even though these guys do decent amounts of damage, what we're really relying on them for are buff clears, which is essentially how you're going to get through some of the targets. So if for some reason you've got a 7 red star, maybe you can start pushing him towards Raider. I don't know, but I prefer this interaction. So as a striker, he's going to do his attack, which will clear another positive effect, and he teams up with his wife, Proxima Midnight. Now, Proxima Midnight as the skirmisher in this means that you're going to get that early mark target. She's going to assist. If you build her up to level 3, you're going to get her debuff clears, her attack from that, from turn 1. His assist on that is going to basically can potentially clear all the buffs from an enemy target, leaving them pretty much naked and defenseless. So something to consider. And believe it or not, as a striker, he's still getting a significant portion of damage that's being applied to his base. And while it's not the raw stats from the crit and crit damage, he is definitely still benefiting from that in a way that he wouldn't normally. And again, that clear is actually part of the reason why we want it. So especially in mirror matches when you get stuck behind that, that's a big deal. So the other choice over here is Cull Obsidian. And Cull Obsidian was a really challenging choice because while you can put Raider on him and get more crit and crit damage, the idea was that he is basically not getting the additional Raider is not going to mark on a crit on the passive, and it's not triggering the ISO effect on that. So he really only gets a couple of turns here. And the idea was the base damage being applied throughout his entire kit was a lot more valuable than trying to find a nuanced attack. Because really, he only does 2 attacks, you know, between the taunt and his ult. So the cycle of which he actually does damage is so low. So these are just the reason why we thought of these. This will give you some feedback. We're going to take them up against the Black Order in a mirror match and kind of let you guys see for yourself here. Walk you through what we're doing. So, all right, we're going to take him into Arena. And now in Arena, rank 34. Obviously, you can see I've got a different team here. Take a look and see what I get. So we'll move up. I can go to 27, 26. Go to 27. All right, move this team around, and we'll set my Black Order. Now I'm going to show you guys something about my order, for offense. I would probably do something different on defense. But one thing you may want to do is sometimes it may be advisable to put Corvus and Proxima on different ends of that, so they're not being tapped. So you get the speed up, since I have a lot more control over that. Then I will put them in this environment. And another thing that I'll recommend is if you guys are specifically looking for reasons to put Fortifier on them or Healer, we'll get into that and why there might be some scenarios that would work on. But we're going to go ahead and fire this up and take it against them. So this is an arena fight. This is where you're going to see it. We call it PvP. So a lot of times you're probably fighting G14 versions of them. So the PvP and arena and war are typically the best version. So they actually put up this defense. They were talking to, so if you look at their spread, their setup is exactly what I'm talking about. So we're going to look at the one that's squishiest over here. They're both squishy, but we're going to go ahead and just target this to hope we get, so we got him to half health. That's going to trigger up the speed up. So he's going to go a lot faster than me, which is the important part of the puzzle. We're trying to get him to flip faster. So we're going to go ahead and with this, we're going to go ahead and double tap here and try to clean off some of his buffs here. So now we're going to get the flip, and then mine will go next. And then we just flip a Rooney-Roo right back at you. And so we're trying to set it up so that we have offense up, offense down on him. Now, he's going to only mark one target. Now, if he had a higher level skirmisher, he would have a chance to clean that taunt right off. So that's the disadvantage here of basically with his setup is now he's got a squishier target there. And so I'm basically just destroying him at this point. It's not even close. So that's the only disadvantage with that setup is you're going to leave some squishy targets. So that's why against like when you're piloting your teams, that's the other advantage here. And then with the taunt, and then with this, I'm going to be able to do my ult first. And I didn't see how big his Thanos was, but we're going to go ahead and just try to clean that off. And now he has no defense up for this. We're going to slow this down and show you the power, the true power of a raider. He's got offense down. That's not a big deal here. It should be enough to take two of these guys off the board. And then we'll get those death proofs off. We should see a quick elimination. And yeah, so relatively easy to fight here. You're controlling what gets the speed up and when it happens. And it really wasn't even close. And that's the end of that fight. So let's go into some of the consideration that I think I've been hearing about and some of the other ways to kind of look at your team when you're deciding ISOs. So remember, I have level 5 Raider. I'm still recommending that you don't take level 5 on your characters because there may be a new emerging meta coming soon to the game. The thing about it is we're going to see a lot of still performance from 3, maybe 4 if you need the extra health. So if you had a smaller Proxima than your Arena Shard and you wanted to protect them from controlling the tempo by then sometimes a Fortifier at level 3 or 4 might be worthwhile, but that's really kind of an evaluation mechanic, and that's a lot of ISOs to invest in that. I've heard some mixed reviews from folks who have tried it. I just feel like I prefer, while I'm piloting a team, and not to try to consider what's on defense. So they would do that primarily to try to prevent your opponent from attacking into you and triggering the defense mechanic. But that would mean that you have very, very similar ISOs and tiers. So you're looking at team sizes very similar. Not a big fan of that. I still feel like most defenses aren't going to hold. They'll figure out what they're doing wrong and get through you anyway. So I'm building this mostly for offense and for piloting, especially because this is going to help you enhance in war. So if you guys have any questions about what you guys just saw, check it out in the comments. I am curious if you guys are using them as healer. Please let me know if you guys, give me some footage, show me some awesome things that you're able to accomplish with this team. But I definitely prefer these interactions, the double taps, cleaning those buffs, the extra damage from Cull, and just being able to control the fight is such a vital component of knowing how to play Black Order. So that is why they are still one of the premier war teams. They perform much better when they're in your hands. I promise. So, all right, RemanX signing out. I will see you guys for the next video. Next video will be featuring an additional team. You guys will see it in the next video. I'll check you guys out soon. Love you much. And remember, I do things so you don't have to. Keep watching.